Continuing from the standard demo, we want to demonstrate how a user can extend calculations from the Rumfox pivot table. In this scenario, we are going to create a ratio for analysis, margin as a percent of sales. We're going to run that across the different quarters. And once we set up the calc, we can format it as a percent and run through the different page members to see it dynamically change. Sometimes, however, we want a ratio that is not available from the data on the current view. For instance, in this view, we want to know sales as a percentage of total sales. Therefore, sales divided by a total company for all products. Utilizing Excel as an extension to the Rumfox pivot table, we can accomplish this by changing the view. Let's modify the view to report all sales data for every product for every business unit. Now, let's take that value, that sales number, and divide it by the total sales by total company by total product. Run that across, format this as a percentage. So let's format these ratios as a percentage to the total. We've been creating ratios that extend upon the Rumfox pivot table, but let's now actually put these ratios inside the Rumfox pivot table so we can slice and dice on them for analysis. So let's export the current data in the pivot table and add 2 more members for our analysis. Since Excel is very easy to work in, let's export the accounts dimension and add our members. Let's put in margin as a percentage of sales. And let's put sales as a percentage of total sales. And add these 2 calcs now to our account dimension. We'll move this back into the pivot table. Replace our accounts dimension. And now rebuild our model. Model built. So now, why don't we jump over to the Create Rules area of the pivot table. And as we look at this list, now that we've added, rebuilt the accounts, we're going to move the variance calcs down to the bottom and add 2 new calcs. One is going to be our margin as a percentage of sales. And since we know Excel, we're just going to say we're going to use the if-error calculation capabilities within Excel. We can either type it in or we can leverage the Excel functions that are down here. But we're going to take margin and make that divided by sales. And once we set that up, we're going to validate that formula. It validates. We're going to save it. And now we're going to add our other calculation similar to this, but with a little difference in the fact that we need to qualify that we want sales for total product, total org. So we're going to say sales divided by total sales, and then inside the brackets we're going to fully qualify this total org and total product. Again, we're going to add our if-error logic that is common with Excel when you're doing ratios. Validate, save, and now we've got it all set up, and now we're going to run our rules. Rules are now calculated. Now that the model's built, let's jump back over to the export file and import it back into our pivot table. And now that we have our data, before we build out our views, let's just jump over to the model structure and make our new ratios have a percent format. and save those as such. So now let's go out and build a view. Once we set that up, we'll see margin as a percentage of sales and sales as a percentage of total sales, now part of our account dimension. We go up to total org, we can see now commercial as a percentage. Look at total product, and there's our 100%. And even go down on the total org and seeing total domestic as a percentage of total organization. And now these ratios are a part of our pivot table. If we want, we can move scenario, maybe move product into the view now, and now see domestic sales as a percentage of total sales, and then flip it over to Europe and Asia Pacific and see that ratio as well. They're all now inside our pivot table.